interrupted debate on first reading.
When the debate was interrupted on the Crown Pastoral Land Rent for Pastoral Leases Amendment Bill, Colin King was speaking. He has 5 minutes remaining to speak should he wish to take it. I do not see anyone seeking the call. The question is, I beg your pardon, Kevin Haig. Sorry, I apologise, members. So many of us standing up, I didn't see him seeking the call. Kevin Haig.
I just have a tiny voice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Green Party will just take a short call on this bill. We will support it to select committee, but we make no indication beyond that of our intention to support or not. It's beyond dispute that the normal process for calculating rents based on the unimproved land values of these leases, that process is not viable, and so something has to be done about that problem. The issue touches on one very small aspect of the very much larger issue of how best to manage these pastoral leases, especially in the high country. These leases have been historically important for New Zealand agriculture, but are now under considerable pressure. For the most part, these areas of Crown land are also the sites of very high conservation values, and that, sir, is the nub of the issue around these leases. Tenure review is a process that is placing some of those conservation values at even greater risk. And that's happened, in fact, both under Labor and national governments. But particularly, sir, under this current national government, we have a determination from the government not to add any land to the public conservation estate, and at the same time that's coupled with the disastrous decision by the government to, in fact, reduce the funding available for conservation. So that's created a situation in which the objective of the Crown Pastoral Lease Act to manage these areas in an ecologically sustainable manner is now at profound risk. Because, so what the government is instead doing is relying on an extremely weak form of protection, covenanting, to provide any protection whatsoever for the conservation values on these areas of land. And so I'm a big fan of the QE2 Trust. I have a QE2 covenant over my own land on the West Coast. But the success or otherwise of that mechanism for actually protecting the conservation values of a place is entirely dependent on the motivation of the landowner, because the trust itself is not in a position to actively manage and protect those conservation values. And so while there are some great and committed landowners who are part of the trust and who entered into that covenanting relationship willingly, if instead the covenanting of parcels of their land is a condition of the tenure review process, one might suspect that at least in some of those cases the commitment of that landowner to protecting the conservation values in that place is likely to be less. And so that means that some of the places with the very highest values in New Zealand in terms of conservation are now resting on the whim of the landowner, who may be poorly motivated to do so to protect them. So that's a situation that creates some profound risk for some very important values for New Zealand. So that objective of the Act, of the Crown Pastoral Lease Act, is currently subject to jeopardy. So it was kind of interesting that another mechanism was offered by the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment in her report from April 2009. That's her report, Change in the High Country, Environmental Stewardship and Tenure Review. because what she indicated there was a more creative option around rentals was possible. She suggested, in fact, that our Parliament should look at a rental policy that actually prioritised the environmental outcomes that we were seeking from these precious places. And sir, it's with regret that I note that the government's chosen not to pursue that path. However, sir, this is a complex issue, and it may well be that there are sound arguments for not pursuing that option that was proffered by the Commissioner. And if so, and we haven't heard them yet, we will be very interested to hear the debate at the Select Committee. So we're prepared to support at first reading, but at this stage our intention is to wait and see what the submissions say. Thank you, sir.